The sky turned dark at noon. Not from clouds or an eclipse, but from something much more frightening. Giant ships, each one bigger than the largest city, blocked the sun as they entered Earth's atmosphere. Phones stopped working. TV signals cut off. The internet went down. For the first time in decades, the whole world fell silent. Captain Sunwoo, they're positioning themselves over every major city, Lieutenant Taeyong said, pointing at the large screen in the International Space Coalition. Headquarters: Seoul, New York, London, Beijing, Moscow, all of them. Captain Jun Sunwoo stood with his hands behind his back, his face showing no fear even as his heart raced. He had trained for many situations, but first contact with aliens was not one of them. Any communication from them? He asked. None, sir. Taeyong looked up from his screen. But our satellites show their ships are opening some kind of ports. They might be preparing weapons. The room fell silent. The 20 people gathered there, the best military minds from around the world, all looked to Sunwoo for guidance. He took a deep breath. Let's not jump to conclusions. If they wanted to destroy us, they could have done it already. Just as he finished speaking, every screen in the room lit up with the same message in all languages. Prepare to receive representatives of the Taijin Confederation. 3 hours later, Sunwoo found himself in a hastily arranged meeting room at the United Nations building in New York. With him were 5 other humans: Director Do-Yun Park, the head scientist; Professor Yuna Song, who specialized in ancient cultures, Lieutenant Taeyong, and Dr. Minji Hyun, a quiet linguist who had been added to the team at the last minute on Professor Song's recommendation. Remember, Sunwoo told his team, we represent all of humanity now. Stay calm. Show no fear. Dr. Hyun nodded nervously, clutching her tablet to her chest. Unlike the others, she had no training for high-pressure situations. She was just a researcher who studied dead languages. The door opened. In walked 5 beings that looked almost human, but not quite. They stood 7 feet tall with skin that shimmered with a faint blue glow. Each had 4 eyes, 2 large ones where humans would be, and 2 smaller ones higher on their foreheads. Their fingers were longer, with an extra joint. They wore tight-fitting suits that seemed to move with them like a second skin. Greetings, said the one in front, using a small device that translated his words. I am Ambassador Ryan of the Taijin Confederation. We have traveled far to meet the dominant species of this world. Captain Sunwoo stepped forward. I am Captain Jun Sunwoo of Earth's International Space Coalition. We welcome you in peace. Ambassador Ryan's 4 eyes blinked in an odd pattern. He looked at the other aliens, and they made sounds that the translation device didn't catch. Is okay? Something funny? Sunwoo asked, keeping his voice level. Forgive us, Ambassador Ryan said, not sounding sorry at all. It's just that we expected to meet with your planet's actual leaders, not their servants. Sunwoo kept his face neutral. I assure you we have full authority to speak for Earth. The aliens looked at each other again. One of them, introduced as Commander Taeho, said something in their language. The others laughed. What did he say? Sunwoo asked. Ambassador Ryan smiled, showing teeth that were too straight and too white. He simply commented on how primitive your meeting space is. Our cleaning drones have more advanced technology than this entire building. For the next hour, the pattern continued. The humans would speak, and the Taijin would make comments to each other in their own language, laughing before responding through their translators with barely hidden insults. We are prepared to offer your people technological assistance, Ambassador Ryan said eventually. Your energy systems are inefficient. Your medicine is basic. Your space travel capabilities are amusing. And what would you want in return? Director Park asked. Access to your planet's resources. Nothing you'll miss. Just some minerals, water, and land for our outposts. How much land? Sunwoo asked. The aliens spoke among themselves again before Ambassador Ryan answered. We would need control of areas you call Australia, Canada, and Russia to start. Their current populations can remain as long as they follow Tajan guidance. In the corner, Dr. Hyun looked up from her tablet, where she had been quietly recording the meeting. Her eyes widened as she noticed something. "That is not acceptable," Sunwoo said firmly. "Earth and its resources belong to humanity. We are open to fair trade, but not to giving up control of our territories." Ambassador Ryan's upper eyes narrowed. "I don't think you understand your position, Captain. We are not asking permission. We are informing you of what will happen." He stood up. "You have 3 Earth days to prepare your leaders for our terms. We will return then for their answer." As the aliens turned to leave, one of them, the female called Technician Yuna, dropped a small device. Dr. Hyun rushed forward to pick it up. "You dropped this," she said, holding it out. Technician Yuna looked surprised, then took it quickly. "Kansumal Hebendor," she said in their language. "You're welcome," Dr. Hyun replied softly. Back at their headquarters, the human team gathered to discuss what had happened. "They see us as primitives," Lieutenant Taeyong said angrily. "Did you see how they laughed at everything we said?" "Their technology is far beyond ours," Director Park admitted. "Their ships alone would take us centuries to build. If they decide to take what they want by force, we can't stop them," Professor Song added. Captain Sunwoo looked at each of them. "Options?" While the others debated military and diplomatic strategies, Dr. Hyun sat quietly in the corner, her fingers moving quickly over her tablet. Finally, she raised her hand like a student in class. "Dr. Hyun, you have something to add?" Sunwoo asked. She stood up nervously. I've been recording their language, the parts they spoke to each other without using the translators. And, Director Park prompted, "some of it sounds familiar." She pulled up a sound wave on her tablet. "These patterns, these phonetics, they share similarities with an ancient human language from the Korean peninsula, a dialect that died out about 3,000 years ago." The room fell silent. "Are you saying they speak Korean?" Lieutenant Taeyong asked. "No, not modern Korean, but there are connections to an ancient form that predates written records. I study dead languages, and these patterns are unmistakable." "How is that possible?" Professor Song asked. "They're from another star system." Dr. Hyun shook her head. "I don't know yet, but it's not just a few words. The structure, the tone patterns, it's too similar to be coincidence." Captain Sunwoo walked to the window and looked up at the massive ship still hovering in the sky. "Dr. Hyun, how quickly can you learn more of their language?" "With more samples, I could start to piece together meanings. Their translator only works one way. It converts their speech to our languages but doesn't translate what they say to each other." Sunwoo turned back to the room, his eyes showing determination. "Then we need more samples, and we need them fast. Dr. Hyun, work with whatever resources you need. The rest of us will prepare for their return in 3 days." As they left the meeting room, Dr. Hyun looked once more at her tablet where she had noted the phrase Technician Yuna had said to her, "Kansu mal hebben dor." In the ancient language she studied, those sounds would mean something like small hand, takes gently. A simple thanks for picking up the dropped device, but in words that no human had spoken aloud for thousands of years. Something strange was happening, and they had 3 days to figure it out before the Tajan returned with their demands. Dr. Minji Hyun hadn't slept in 30 hours. Her small office at the ISC headquarters was now covered with papers, digital screens, and coffee cups. She rubbed her tired eyes and looked again at the recordings of the Tajan language. "This can't be right," she whispered to herself. But the evidence was clear. A knock at her door made her jump. Captain Sunwoo entered, looking as tired as she felt. "Any progress, Dr. Hyun?" he asked. She nodded and waved him over. "I've been comparing the Tajan language with ancient Earth languages. The similarities are not just with old Korean dialects. I'm finding connections to Proto-Siberian and even some Pacific Island languages." "What does that mean?" "It means whatever connected us happened a very long time ago, before these languages separated." She pointed to a timeline on her screen. "At least 5,000 years ago, maybe more." Captain Sunwoo frowned. Are you suggesting aliens visited Earth thousands of years ago? It's the only explanation that makes sense. Dr. Hyun pulled up a new screen showing sound patterns. Languages don't develop these kinds of similarities by accident. Someone or something connected us. Before they could discuss further, Lieutenant Taeyong burst into the room. Captain, you need to see this. He turned on the wall screen showing a news broadcast. The Taijin ships had deployed smaller vessels that were now hovering over major mining areas around the world. They're not waiting for our answer, Taeyong said. They're already claiming what they want. Captain Sunwoo's face hardened. We still have 2 days before their deadline. It gets worse. Taeyong switched to a satellite feed. They've placed weapons platforms in orbit. They're calling them protective measures, but they're aimed at our cities. Dr. Hyun looked at the images with growing fear. Then something caught her eye. Can you zoom in on that platform? She asked, pointing at the screen. When Taeyong zoomed in, they could see strange markings on the side of the alien weapon. Those symbols. Dr. Hyun grabbed her tablet and pulled up an image. They look like these. She showed them a photograph of ancient cave paintings from an island in the Pacific Ocean. These markings were discovered 50 years ago, she explained. Archaeologists couldn't identify them, but they estimated they were 7,000 years old. Captain Sunwoo looked between the two images. The similarities were undeniable. So the aliens who visited Earth thousands of years ago were either the Taijin or their ancestors, Dr. Hyun finished. And they left their mark here. But there's more. She led them to another screen where she had been translating words. Based on what I've learned so far, the Taijin language has changed over time, just like ours. But some ancient Earth languages seem to have preserved elements that the Taijin themselves have lost. What kind of elements? Taeyong asked. Complex mathematical concepts, philosophical ideas, even what might be technical information. She pointed to a series of symbols. These patterns appear in both Taijin communications and in ancient ruins around Earth. On Earth, they're always connected to stories about gods who came from the sky and taught humans. Captain Sunwoo's eyes widened as he began to understand. Are you saying we might know things about their past that they've forgotten? Dr. Hyun nodded. Their society seems focused on technology and conquest. They may have lost touch with their history while humans preserved it through stories and writing, even if we didn't understand what we were preserving. For the first time since the ships arrived, Captain Sunwoo smiled. This could be our advantage. The next day, while Dr. Hyun continued her research, Captain Sunwoo met with Director Park and Professor Song in the main conference room. The situation is getting worse, Director Park reported. The Taijin have started landing small teams near the largest mineral deposits. They're surveying the land they plan to take. What about our military response? Sunwoo asked. We've moved ships and planes into position, but it's mostly for show, Professor Song said. Their technology would crush us in minutes. Captain Sunwoo nodded. Then we focus on Dr. Hyun's discovery. She needs access to more archaeological data. I've contacted museums and universities worldwide, Professor Song said. They're sending everything they have on ancient languages and symbols. And I've given her a team of linguists and codebreakers, Director Park added. They're working around the clock. Just then, Dr. Hyun burst into the room, her eyes wide with excitement. I found it, she exclaimed, forgetting all formality. The connection. She placed her tablet on the table, showing a map of Earth with dozens of points marked across every continent. These are sites where ancient artifacts have been found with writing similar to the Taijin language, she explained. For centuries, we thought they were just religious symbols or primitive art. But when I used the Taijin language as a key, she tapped the screen, and the markings transformed into recognizable patterns. They're instructions, she said. Technical, information about energy, physics, even space travel. The knowledge was hidden in plain sight all over Earth. The others stared in amazement. But why would they leave this information here? Director Park asked. I don't think the current Taijin left it, Dr. Hyun explained. I think their ancestors did. thousands of years ago. Maybe they were explorers or scientists who visited Earth. They taught early humans some of their language and knowledge, then left these records behind. And the modern Tajin don't know about this? Captain Sunwoo asked. I don't think so. Based on how they talk about us, they believe they're encountering Earth for the first time. They've forgotten their own history with our planet. Lieutenant Tai Young, who had been listening quietly, finally spoke up. So what do we do with this information? Captain Sunwoo thought for a moment. We use it. When they return tomorrow for our answer, we show them we know more about their past than they do. It's risky, Professor Song warned. They might feel threatened. It's our only leverage, Sunwoo replied. Dr. Hyun, how much of their ancient language can you speak by tomorrow? She hesitated. I can manage some basic phrases, maybe a few important concepts. With more time, we don't have more time. Sunwoo looked around the room. We need to plan this carefully. If we're going to surprise them, we get one chance. That night, while the rest of the team planned their strategy, Dr. Hyun worked with her new team in a large laboratory. Around them were artifacts borrowed from museums, digital scans of ancient tablets, and recordings of the Taijin language playing on repeat. This symbol appears in both their ship markings and in caves in Australia, one linguist said, pointing to a screen. And here's the same pattern in South American ruins, another added. Dr. Hyun connected the pieces, slowly building a translation key between the ancient Earth symbols and modern Taijin speech. As connections formed, new meanings emerged. Look at this, she said, pointing to a sequence they had decoded. It's not just random knowledge, these are principles, fundamental ideas about the universe. She translated one phrase that appeared repeatedly across different sites. The first principles of creation. As she spoke the words aloud in the reconstructed, ancient language, she felt a strange connection to the past, to a time when humans and Taijin ancestors might have worked together, sharing knowledge under the same sky. She didn't notice Professor Song watching her from the doorway with a worried expression. The professor had been examining Dr. Hyun's translations and had realized something important. If Dr. Hyun was right, the knowledge hidden in these ancient texts wasn't just historical. It contained scientific principles that could make the Taijin very, very angry if they realized humans had access to it. Tomorrow would either save Earth or doom it completely. On the final day before the Taijin deadline, world leaders gathered in a secure underground facility beneath the UN building. Screens around the room showed Taijin ships continuing to position themselves above Earth's most valuable resources. Captain, Sunwoo stood before the assembled presidents, prime ministers, and kings. The aliens will return in 6 hours for our answer. Based on Dr. Hyun's discoveries, we have a plan. He nodded to Dr. Hyun, who stepped forward nervously. She had barely slept in 3 days, but determination kept her alert. We've confirmed that the Taijin or their ancestors visited Earth thousands of years ago, she explained. They left behind knowledge in a form that early humans preserved but didn't fully understand. She displayed images of ancient artifacts alongside Taijin writing. The similarities were clear even to untrained eyes. By combining archaeological discoveries from around the world, we've begun translating not just their language, but technical information about physics, energy, and possibly even space travel. Murmurs spread through the room. How is this possible? Asked the president of Brazil. How could ancient humans record such advanced concepts? Professor Song stepped forward. We believe the Taijin ancestors taught early humans their language and basic concepts. The humans couldn't understand the science, but they treated the knowledge as sacred and preserved it exactly through generations. Meanwhile, Dr. Hyun continued, the Taijin civilization seems to have evolved differently. They advanced technologically, but lost connection to their past. They don't recognize the significance of these Earth artifacts. So what do you propose? Asked the Prime Minister of India. Captain Sunwoo addressed the room. We reveal that we understand their ancient language and possess knowledge they've lost. It may change how they see us. And if it doesn't? Someone asked. Sunwoo's face was grim. Then we're no worse off than we are now. After discussion, the world leaders agreed to the plan. Dr. Hyun and her team worked frantically to prepare, creating small devices that used the principles they had discovered. 3 hours later, Dr. Hyun sat alone in a small room, practicing the ancient words. The pronunciation was difficult, but she had recordings from the Taijin to guide her. She repeated the phrases over and over until they felt natural on her tongue. Professor Song entered with a concerned expression. "Minji, there's something you should know." Dr. Hyun looked up, surprised by the use of her first name. "The technical information in these texts," Professor Song said quietly. "It's not just basic science. Some of these principles describe energy manipulation beyond anything in modern physics." "Isn't that good?" Dr. Hyun asked. "More leverage?" Professor Song shook her head. "It's dangerous. If I can see this with limited understanding, the Taijin will certainly recognize it. We're not just showing them we know their language. We're revealing that we possess knowledge they may consider sacred or restricted." Dr. Hyun felt her mouth go dry. "Should we change the plan?" "It's too late. But be careful how much you reveal." Professor Song placed a hand on her shoulder. "The fate of our world may depend on your words today." At exactly noon, the main Taijin ship descended over the UN building. A beam of light transported Ambassador Ryan and his delegation directly into the meeting room, where Captain Sunwoo waited with his team. "Your time is up," Ambassador Ryan announced without greeting. "What is Earth's answer to our generous offer?" Captain Sunwoo stood tall. "Before we give our answer, we have something to show you." He nodded to Dr. Hyun, who stepped forward with a small box. The Taijin watched with amused expressions. "We've been studying your people," Dr. Hyun said softly. "Ambassador." Ryan smiled condescendingly. "And what have you learned, little human?" Dr. Hyun took a deep breath and began speaking in the ancient Taijin language. The words felt strange in her mouth, but she pronounced each one carefully. "Kantor ve Sindhu Amala, Hejev nor Tarak Imala." Their effect was immediate and shocking. Ambassador Ryan's four eyes widened. Commander Taeho stepped back as if struck. Technician Yuna gasped and covered her mouth with her long fingers. What did you say?" Ambassador Ryan asked, his translator device suddenly unnecessary. Dr. Hyun continued in the ancient language, speaking the words she had practiced. "The first principles of creation bind all who seek knowledge. The stars carry the memory of those who came before." The Taijin delegation looked at each other in confusion and growing alarm. Ambassador Ryan's usual arrogance crumbled as he responded in his own language. "How do you know the sacred words? These are from the time before memory." Dr. Hyun understood enough to reply. "Your ancestors visited Earth long ago. They taught our ancestors. We preserved their knowledge." Ambassador Ryan shook his head in disbelief. "Impossible. Humans are primitive. You cannot know these things." Dr. Hyun opened the small box she was holding. Inside was a device the size of her palm, built according to specifications from the ancient texts. It hummed softly and emitted a pale blue light that pulsed in a specific pattern. The Taijin stared at it in shock. Technician Yuna approached slowly, her hands trembling. This cannot be," she whispered. "This is the heartbeat pattern. It is from the oldest texts. How did you create this?" Captain Sunwoo stepped forward. "Earth has many secrets, Ambassador. Your ancestors left their knowledge here and we preserved it. While your civilization may have advanced technologically, you seem to have lost connection to your origins." Commander Taeho looked angry. "This is trickery." "No trick," Dr. Hyun said, placing the device on the table. "We have more. Many more." She projected images on the wall showing archaeological sites around Earth with Taijin symbols. Beside each, she displayed the translations her team had created. "These sites contain knowledge your people left behind. We are only beginning to understand it," she explained. "But we recognize its importance." Ambassador Ryan was visibly shaken. He spoke quietly to the other Taijin, then turned back to the humans. We must Consult with our scholars. This is unexpected. Captain Sunwoo smiled slightly. Of course. And while you consult, perhaps you could explain why your ships are positioning themselves over our resources before receiving our answer to your demands. The commander looked uncomfortable. Standard procedure for efficiency. We see it differently, Sunwoo replied firmly. We see it as preparation for taking what isn't yours, regardless of our answer. Ambassador Ryan seemed at a loss for words, a first since his arrival. Finally, he spoke with less confidence than before. We will return to our ship to discuss this development. Our deadline is extended. After the Taijin left, the human team released their tense breath. It worked, Lieutenant Taeyong said with amazement. They were actually scared. Not scared, Dr. Hyun corrected. Shocked, confused. Their whole understanding of us was wrong. Captain Sunwoo nodded. But this is just the beginning. They'll recover from their surprise and analyze everything we showed them. We need to prepare for their return. What do you think they'll do? Professor Song asked. If we're lucky, they'll want to learn more about their history. Sunwoo looked at the device still pulsing on the table. If we're unlucky, they'll want to make sure we can't use this knowledge against them. Dr. Hyun picked up the device and turned it off. There's something else you should know. The text I translated mentioned that the knowledge was split. Half left on Earth, half taken to the stars. If that's true, we each have pieces of a larger puzzle. Captain Sunwoo considered this. Then perhaps instead of enemies, we should be partners. Will they see it that way? Lieutenant Taeyong asked skeptically. That, Captain Sunwoo said, will depend on how much they value their own history. As they spoke, high above Earth, Ambassador Ryan stared out a window of his ship. His world had shifted today. The primitives had spoken words not heard in his civilization for generations. They had created a device that shouldn't be possible with their technology. And most disturbing of all, they had looked at him not with fear, but with understanding, as if they knew secrets about his people that even he did not. He gave orders to withdraw the weapons platforms and resource ships. Whatever happened next would not be the simple conquest he had planned. Earth had just become much more interesting. 2 days passed without word from the Taijin. Their ships remained in Earth's orbit, but the weapons platforms and resource survey teams had been withdrawn. The world watched and waited. Dr. Hyun barely left her laboratory during this time. With help from her growing team, she continued translating more of the ancient texts. Each new discovery amazed her. These aren't just random teachings, she told Captain Sunwoo during one of his visits. They form a complete system of knowledge, physics, mathematics, philosophy, all connected. Captain Sunwoo studied the screens of translated text. Can we use any of this to defend Earth if the Taijin decide to attack? Dr. Hyun hesitated. Some of the principles could be applied to energy systems, maybe even weapons. But that's not what this knowledge was meant for. What was it meant for? Understanding. Growth. She pointed to a section of text. This part talks about the responsibility that comes with advanced technology. It's almost like a warning. Before they could discuss further, Lieutenant Taeyong rushed in. Captain, they're back. The Taijin are requesting a formal summit with full diplomatic protocols. Captain Sunwoo straightened his uniform. Where? That's the interesting part, Taeyong said. They want to meet at the Great Pyramid. In Egypt, Dr. Hyun looked up sharply. The pyramid? That's one of the sites with the ancient symbols. They know, Captain Sunwoo realized. They've been doing their own research. 3 hours later, a small group of humans stood in the shadow of the Great Pyramid. Captain Sunwoo, Dr. Hyun, Professor Song, Director Park, and Lieutenant Taeyong waited as a Taijin ship descended silently from the sky. This time, more than 5 Taijin emerged. Behind Ambassador Ryan and his original team came 3 elderly Taijin with elaborate decorations on their clothing. Captain Sunwoo, Ambassador Ryan said, his tone much more respectful than before. Thank you for agreeing to this location. May I present Elder Donghae, Scholar Jihye, and High Teacher Minho. They have traveled from our home system to meet you. Captain Sunwoo bowed slightly. We are honored. Elder Donghae, whose scales had faded to a pale silver with age, stepped forward. He spoke in the Taijin language and Ambassador Ryan translated. Elder Donghae says he has not heard the ancient tongue spoken correctly in many lifetimes. He wishes to hear it again. All eyes turned to Dr. Hyun. She swallowed nervously, then spoke the words she had been practicing. The circle of knowledge returns to its beginning. The teachers become students, and the students become teachers. The elderly Taijin's four eyes widened. He responded in the same language, speaking slowly. He asks how you learned these words, Ambassador Ryan translated. Dr. Hyun gestured to the pyramid behind them. In places like this, your ancestors left their mark on our world. We preserved their teachings. Scholar Jahye stepped forward and handed Ambassador Ryan an object. He presented it to Dr. Hyun, a small crystal sphere that glowed with an inner light. This is from our oldest archives, Ambassador Ryan explained. It contains historical records from before our written history. We believed these were merely legends, but now, Dr. Hyun held the sphere carefully. As she touched it, images appeared. Above it, star maps, mathematical equations, and symbols matching those found in the ancient Earth sites. They're the same, she whispered. Elder Donghae spoke again at length. He says, Ambassador Ryan translated, that our histories tell of a time when the first Taijin explored the stars. They found promising worlds and shared knowledge with species they believed might one day reach the stars themselves. Earth was one such world. But over time, as our civilization advanced technologically, we lost connection to this past. The records became legends, then religious texts, and finally curiosities in our archives. Captain Sunwoo nodded thoughtfully. While we developed more slowly but preserved what was given to us. Not just preserved, Scholar Jihe said through the translator. You integrated it into your cultures, your art, your religions. You treated it with reverence even when you didn't understand it. Dr. Hyun looked at the sphere in her hands, then at the pyramid. So our civilizations are connected. We share a history. High Teacher Minho, who had been silent until now, spoke sharply. Ambassador Ryan seemed reluctant to translate. What did he say? Captain Sunwoo asked. Ambassador Ryan sighed. He says that while this historical connection is interesting, it doesn't change our resource needs. Our civilization requires certain minerals found on Earth. That reality remains. The mood shifted instantly. Lieutenant Taeyong tensed, his hand moving slightly toward his weapon. Dr. Hyun spoke before anyone else could. Perhaps it doesn't have to be taken by force. She held up the glowing sphere. This knowledge we both have. Parts of it describe energy systems far more efficient than what either of our civilizations currently use. If we work together, perhaps there are solutions that don't require conquest. High Teacher Minho responded skeptically. He doubts that humans have the capability to understand such advanced concepts, Ambassador Ryan translated. Dr. Hyun smiled slightly. Then let me show you. She handed the sphere to Professor Song and removed a small device from her pocket, a more advanced version of what she had shown them days before. When she activated it, it projected a complex diagram in the air between them. This is from the texts found in Australia, she explained. It describes an energy collection system that draws power from the space between dimensions, what you call the void between. The Taijin delegates looked at each other in shock. High Teacher Minho spoke rapidly to Elder Donghae. They are surprised you could translate this concept correctly, Ambassador Ryan said. This technology was lost to us generations ago. We have legends of it, but no working knowledge. We don't fully understand it either, Dr. Hyun admitted. But with your technological expertise and our preserved records, perhaps together we could rediscover it. Elder Donghae gazed at Dr. Hyun with all four eyes, then spoke directly to her in the ancient language. This time, she understood enough to translate for herself. He says, the circle completes. The teachers left knowledge, and now the students. Offer it back. Captain Sunwoo stepped forward. We propose a true exchange. Partnership instead of conquest. Your technology and our historical knowledge working together for solutions that benefit both our peoples. Ambassador Ryan translated this for the elders, who discussed among themselves. Finally, Elder Donghae nodded and spoke. The elder agrees to bring this proposal to the Taejan High Council. Ambassador Ryan translated. He believes there is wisdom in your words. Until a formal agreement is reached, all Taejan forces will maintain their current positions, but take no further action. That is acceptable, Captain Sunwoo agreed. As the meeting concluded, Dr. Hyun found herself standing beside Technician Yuna, away from the others. Your people have surprised us, Yuna said quietly, using her translator. We've surprised ourselves. Too, Dr. Hyun replied. Yuna hesitated, then asked, The ancient knowledge, do you truly understand what it contains? Dr. Hyun considered her answer carefully. Not fully, but we understand enough to know it should be used wisely. Yuna nodded. That understanding alone makes you worthy of it. She glanced at her elders, then back to Dr. Hyun. There are many among my people who will welcome this partnership. Not all Taejan wish to take your world by force. As the Taejan prepared to leave, Ambassador Ryan approached Captain Sunwoo one last time. I must apologize for my behavior during our first meeting, he said, looking uncomfortable. I viewed your people as primitive. I was incorrect. Captain Sunwoo nodded. Misunderstandings happen when different cultures meet. What matters is how we move forward. Ambassador Ryan looked up at the Great Pyramid looming above them. Our ancestors chose your world for a reason. Perhaps they saw potential in humans that we had forgotten to see. The Taejan returned to their ship, leaving the humans standing in the desert with new hope. The threat wasn't completely gone, but the dynamics had changed fundamentally. Do you think they'll honor this truce? Lieutenant Taeyong asked as they watched the ship rise into the sky. I think, Captain Sunwoo said thoughtfully, that for the first time since they arrived, they're seeing us as equals. That's a good place to start. Dr. Hyun clutched the crystal sphere the Taejan had given her. Inside it were secrets that could transform both civilizations, if they chose to work together rather than against each other. The future suddenly had many more possibilities. 1 month after the summit at the Great Pyramid, Earth had changed. Taejan ships still hovered in the sky, but they were no longer a threat. Instead, they had become a common sight as delegates moved between Earth and the Taejan fleet. Dr. Hyun stood at the window of the newly established Joint Research Institute in Seoul. The building had been constructed in just 3 weeks using Taejan technology. Its design combined both human and Taejan elements, glass and steel alongside the iridescent materials the aliens preferred. Quite a view, isn't it? Captain Sunwoo said, joining her at the window. Below them, human scientists worked alongside Taejan scholars. What had begun as tense meetings had gradually evolved into genuine collaboration. I never imagined this outcome when they first arrived, Dr. Hyun admitted. None of us did. Captain Sunwoo smiled. You've been appointed as co-director. Congratulations. Doctor, Hyun nodded, still not quite believing her new position. And Ambassador Ryan? I heard he requested a new assignment. He did. Said he wanted to learn more about human history. Captain Sunwoo handed her a tablet. The Taejan High Council has sent their official response to our partnership proposal. Dr. Hyun read the document quickly. They've agreed to all the terms? With a few adjustments, but yes, no territory will be taken. Resources will be shared, not seized. And most importantly, knowledge will be exchanged freely. Dr. Hyun felt a weight lift from her shoulders. The threat of invasion was officially over. There's more, Captain Sunwoo added. Elder Donghae is arriving today with a delegation of their highest scholars. They've been examining the ancient texts we provided, and apparently they've made some discoveries of their own. Later that day, Dr. Hyun and Captain Sunwoo welcomed Elder Donghae and his team to the Institute. Among them was a new face, a younger female Taejan with bright green scales. This is Junior Scholar Sora, Elder Donghae said through his translator. She has made significant progress understanding the combined texts. Sora bowed slightly. It is an honor to meet you, Dr. Hyun. Your work has opened new paths for our people. They gathered in a large conference room where screens displayed texts and symbols from both civilizations. Junior scholar Sora took the lead, moving with an enthusiasm that reminded Dr. Hyun of her own students. By combining our historical records with your preserved texts, we have confirmed that our civilizations share more than just a historical connection, Sora explained. The first Taejin who visited Earth were not merely explorers. They were refugees. Murmurs spread through the room. Refugees? Captain Sunwoo asked. From what? Elder Donghae spoke, his voice solemn. From a great war that nearly destroyed our original civilization. The texts speak of a conflict that divided our ancestors. Those who believed technology should serve life, and those who believed life should serve technology. Sora continued. The losing faction fled across the stars, seeking worlds where they could preserve their knowledge and perhaps start again. Earth was one such world. Dr. Hyun leaned forward. So the knowledge they left here was meant to be found when humans were ready, Sora confirmed. Not as a gift, but as a warning and a legacy. She displayed new images on the screens, reconstructions of ancient Taejin writing combined with symbols from Earth. The complete texts tell of technologies that destroyed worlds, but also of principles that could create harmony between advanced beings and their environments. Sora's 4 eyes seemed to shine with excitement. What you preserved here on Earth was not just knowledge, but wisdom, the understanding of when and how to use power. Captain Sunwoo looked thoughtful. While the Taejin who remained developed technology without those guiding principles. Exactly, Elder Donghae said. Our civilization advanced rapidly, but without the balance our ancestors tried to maintain. We became conquerors rather than explorers. Dr. Hyun remembered the warning passages she had found in the ancient texts. And now both halves of the knowledge are reunited. As it was meant to be, Elder Donghae agreed. The circle completes. 3 months later, the first joint project was ready for testing. On a remote plane in Australia, human and Taijin engineers gathered around a strange device that combined ancient principles with modern technology. Dr. Hyun stood with Ambassador Ryan, who had returned for this historic moment. He looked different, now, less arrogant, more curious. Are you nervous? He asked her. A little, she admitted. If this works, it changes everything. The device was designed to draw energy from what the ancient texts called the space between spaces, a concept that human physicists were still struggling to understand, but that matched certain advanced theories about dimensional boundaries. Director. Park gave the signal and the engineers activated the device. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a soft blue light began to glow at its center, growing steadily brighter until it illuminated the entire area. Readings on the monitors showed energy production far beyond anything either civilization had achieved before. Clean, stable, and apparently limitless. A cheer went up from the combined team. Months of work had paid off. Ambassador Ryan turned to Dr. Hyun with all 4 eyes wide. It actually works. The legends were true. Not legends, Dr. Hyun corrected gently. History. Knowledge passed down and preserved. Later, as they celebrated their success, Dr. Hyun found herself standing with Elder Donghae under the stars. What happens now? She asked him. The old Taijin looked up at the night sky. Now, both our peoples have choices to make. This energy source removes the need for conquest. The minerals we sought on Earth are no longer necessary for our civilization's survival. But old habits are difficult to change. Will your people choose a different path? Some already have. Elder Donghae gestured to where human and Taejin engineers were talking animatedly, sharing ideas without translators as each species had begun learning the other's language. Others will resist. Change is never easy. For humans either, Dr. Hyun admitted. Some of my own people want to use this technology to build weapons, not energy sources. Elder Donghae nodded. The same choice our ancestors faced, whether technology serves life or life serves technology. That is why the knowledge was split and preserved in 2 forms. Neither civilization could access its full power without learning from the other. 1 year after the Tajin ships first appeared in Earth's sky, a new kind of vessel prepared for launch. Built by joint human-Tajin teams, it incorporated both the preserved ancient knowledge and modern innovations. Captain Sunwoo, now Admiral Sunwoo, stood on the observation deck with Dr. Hyun. Below them, the ship's crew, a mix of humans and Tajin, made final preparations. "Where will they go?" Dr. Hyun asked. "To explore, not conquer," Admiral Sunwoo replied. "There are other worlds out there that may hold pieces of the same knowledge, other civilizations that might join this reunion." Dr. Hyun thought about how much had changed. The beings who had once laughed at humans now worked alongside them as equals. The language that had once been used to mock them had become a bridge between worlds. "Do you think we would have reached this point without the threat of invasion?" she asked. Admiral Sunwoo considered the question. "Perhaps eventually, but sometimes we need to be challenged to discover what we're truly capable of." As the ship lifted off, its lights joining the stars above, Dr. Hyun recalled the words she had first translated from the ancient texts. "The circle of knowledge returns to its beginning. The teachers become students, and the students become teachers." The circle had indeed completed. The Tajin had come as conquerors but remained as partners. Humans had stood up to a technologically superior force not through weapons, but through knowledge preserved across thousands of years. And now, together, they looked to the stars not with fear, but with curiosity. The trait that both species shared at their core, and that would guide them into a future neither could have imagined alone. The end.